I'm Joe Normal, and you're watching Guitar Tales with Dave Cohen and Scott Guitarmas. Have a rockin' day.
Welcome to Guitar Tales. Scott and I have a fun episode for you tonight. It is the AMP episode. We've been dying to do this one for quite a while. A deep dive into that which brings the sound of those guitars to your audience, to your friends, to yourself. But before we do that, let's pay the bills. If you're in Asbury like I was last week, seeing Scott Guitarmas Stengel and the Smoking Jackets, make a stop at Confections of a Rock Star. Delicious, wonderful, satisfying, a great gift, a great thing to eat for yourself, great for your pets. It's just great all around. Alice Cooper goes there. Check it out. There he is. I once saw him playing golf, by the way. And inside, have your meal after your dessert and have the most delicious hamburger you've ever had at Little Andy's. Look at that. Look at that. Absolutely fantastic. Great music, great food. That dude likes it. He clearly does. He clearly does. Little Andy's Burgers over in Asbury Park. And I got to say, before we pull Scott in here, last weekend we went and we saw Scott playing in Asbury with the Smoking Jackets. Scott was on fire. He did a jump on stage that was so high and so dynamic it hurt my back when he did it. He was fantastic. And what's really cool, he played my very favorite Bruce Springsteen song, 10th Avenue Freeze Out. And it turns out that at the same time, Bruce was at the Stone Pony playing the same song. I think Scott did it better. So there you go. Come on in.
I don't know if I did it better, but
you guys were fantastic. You guys were absolutely fantastic. You were on fire is what you were.
Not literally, of course.
No, you were. You were. Michael Jackson style.
I think it was the fumes from the porta potty behind the stage that got me going.
It was right there.
That's why I was jumping in the air trying to get away from that.
It was right behind you.
I actually stood on a cloud of stink.
No, you
got a little extra height.
Dude, you sounded good. You look good. You had a cool rock and roll outfit on.
Thank you. I was, on hiatus from the band for over a year because of the job situation. I was a little nervous about going back. I was afraid I was going to forget lyrics or not remember the solos and stuff, but I put some time in and tried to reacquaint myself with our material, and it went pretty well.
You know what I noticed? And I'll have you comment on it before we take our deep dive into amps. Your voice was by far the best I've ever heard it, and I wonder if it's because it had a rest.
Oh, yeah, undoubtedly.
Like, specifically Born to Be Wild.
Yeah, that
voice, you were doing things on that, not just the screech, but the regular stanza or the stanzas.
Yeah.
I heard more dynamism in your voice than I've ever heard from you, and I wonder if it's because of that break.
That vocal version of Born to Be Wild came out at the Stone Pony, actually. You mentioned the Stone Pony.
Yeah.
For some reason, and I'm not a show-off, but for some reason remember I was trying to impress somebody in the crowd that's a really good singer.
Right.
And I just started singing out of my range, sort of, which turned out not to be too far out of my range, but it added a nice flavor to the song that's normally pretty, steady.
Now, you know what I think we need right here in post? I want to put there's that one part. Every time I see you play, I love when you do it. I'm sure you know the part I'm talking about, where you do something that's not on the original vocally.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a little different, and it adds a nice flavor to your take on the song. So maybe we'll throw it in.
I know
Maybe
we're a
we
cover
won't.
band, but that I personally, as a musician, a lot of cover band guys do this. They try to
Yeah.
stretch out and add their little flavor to it, their style. You know,
Yeah.
if it's an iconic solo, I'll try to play it pretty close to the original, but I'll also throw in my own stuff. You may not have been there for it because it was freezing cold by the end of the gig, but the last song we did was "Let's Go Crazy," and I throw in a little bit of Van
Little.
Halen at the end there.
Oh, I did miss that part.
Little eruption at the end of the "Let's Go Crazy" solo instead of Prince's version. So it's a little Prince, it's a little Van Halen. It's like Prince Van Halen kind of.
Right. Right. A mashup, if you
Yeah,
will. Yeah.
just a little
But
thing.
but you were literally on fire. Like I was strangely, I was beaming with pride as though I was up there. But I was
You
proud of
guys had
my
a lot of
buddy.
fun. You stayed a lot longer than I thought you were gonna. I thought
We
you
s-
would get scared away after the first set, and
no, we had a
it
great
it it
time.
was it was getting chilly there by the water.
No, and you know, if I wasn't driving, I would have had more to drink. But I'm pretty good. I'm very good about that. So
Yeah.
just had a couple of beers, and that was it. And the empanadas were outstanding. We had
Yeah, there were
empanadas.
a lot of food trucks there. More
Yeah,
food trucks than I realized they were gonna have. It was surrounding the whole park,
yeah. No, it was
all the way
fabulous.
around, and singing "Born to Run" in front of the iconic, uh, convention hall was pretty weird, and then to find
Yeah,
out later that Bruce and his minions were around. I wonder if anybody heard me playing the kazoo
and I love that for
or
Clarence's
or
part.
it got
Yeah,
back to him that I was playing kazoo.
and it sounds really good.
It always gets a lot of, attention.
It
But
does.
people don't
It does.
realize that with a kazoo, you have to sing into the kazoo. You just can't, you don't it's not something you play notes with or blow into, right? You
You are a professional kazoo player
that
at this point.
high those high notes trying to
Yeah,
mimic that sax solo that Clarence does in Born to Run is a bit of a
yeah.
stretch, but, we pulled it
You,
off, sounded good, had a lot of
you guys,
fun.
you guys were fantastic. You really were.
So this was sometimes they're my show ideas, this
Yeah,
is
this
your
was
show
mine,
idea, and I
and
felt like I didn't
I
know enough
shoved it
about
on you. I
I
shoved it on you.
I feel like I don't know enough about amplifiers, but I guarantee we'll probably go 30 minutes to an hour of talking about amps. So
Oh,
take on the amps thing is I'm going to talk about what I know, what I use, what I've had in the past, trials and tribulations, problems with amps, tubes versus solid state in a gig situation.
right.
That's what I'm bringing to the table, and I think that you have you're a little more technologically minded when it comes to how amps work and what kind of amps you've had in the past, and the one that got away, and the amp that you sold that you wish you didn't sell.
Oh yeah, I got a bunch of this.
Yeah,
I
that's
got
absolute shit.
yeah. I have all right. A story that I did not have in my mind when I suggested the amp episode. So back in the day, with John Doe and the Generics, we're playing the Thurston Block Party in Washington D.C., which is an outdoor event. Um, one or two city blocks closed off, probably like 1,500 people outdoors live, and I had my Sun 112.
Mhm, I remember that.
Solids, yeah, it was a good. It was about 1,000,000,000. I used to carry it on my bicycle when we were in high school together. I can't believe I did it because it was heavy,
Yeah.
and I had swapped out the speak. I think I swapped out the stock speaker with an EV that I saved all my money for. And in 19 like $79, I think I spent over $100 for a better speaker with a heavy magnet.
Yeah.
And it was such an efficient speaker that they couldn't mic me. Everyone
Oh,
in the band was mic'd but me.
hmm.
And I had the volume on one at an outdoor event with like 1,000, 1,500 people, maybe two. But the best part, a radio station somehow found its way into my circuitry. So coming out of my amp was like a talk radio along with my guitar.
We used to have that with early wireless units back in the day.
Yeah.
Now, you gotta spend a few bucks and get a wireless unit that uses a frequency that nobody else is using.
It was, and once you play guitar, you couldn't hear it. But between songs, no one knew where it was coming from, but it was from my amp. It was just a radio. I was just amplifying some local radio station. I don't know how or why it happened.
I used to get CB
Yeah.
radio, like Breaker 19, like, it would be great if
Yeah.
I was doing, like, C.W.
Yeah.
McCall's Convoy.
Right. We got a cannonball coming
Not so
here.
good if you're playing a regular rock
Yeah.
song or a ballad and the guy goes, "Breaker 19, got yours on?"
But that is, yeah, they're all crazy. But the thing is, my thinking was everyone who plays electric guitar and most people play acoustic guitar, they have pickups, and we did over an hour on pickups.
Yeah, with Dylan
Si-
Talks Tone.
He was amazing, and it's the same thing. everyone who plays electric and most people who play acoustic are going to use an amp. It's such an important part of our lives. Um it's not as artistically chosen as a guitar might be.
Mhm.
You're not going up and down a fretboard. It's not as intimate,
Right.
but it's a critical piece of how you deliver what you're playing.
Absolutely.
And we all have our views of it. So let me start with you. Unlike me, I'm not a gigging guy. I play for fun, and the only times I gigged was when I was in college and law school, and now I just I
Yeah.
play with myself. But
Like millions of other guitar players, including my magnificent brother who
right.
watches our show regularly, I just want to say you're incredible.
You've said that to me privately too.
He's amazing on guitar, and the band thing wasn't for him.
Right.
The band politics, the arguing, the learning, the practicing.
Hmm.
It's not easy.
No, and he's still enjoying the instrument music. But here's my question for you, Scott Guitar Mrs. Stengel. As,
Yes.
as a gigging guy, wax philosophic, if you will, about tube versus solid state.
Uh, well, tubes definitely sound better than solid state, although it's getting, harder to tell, like AI and real life videos and
Yeah.
pictures of people and deep fake and all that. The technology's come a long way. Uh, when I started playing in wedding bands, I was using a Fender Twin Reverb,
Yep.
great sounding all around amp, with a couple of pedals in front of it to get some distortion and basic effects. But I had an issue going to a wedding where it was super cold outside, and then the amp was on wheels, and I'm wheeling it to the gig, and I guess it was so cold that the tubes fell out of the amp,
Oh no.
or they
Oh no.
rattled because I was, rolling it around on
Wait,
bumpy
how are you doing that?
You stop it. Rolling around on bumpy pavement, and they got loose and fell out. Luckily, uh, and I did break a tube. So luckily, Laurie Music was nearby in that town, and I went there
Edison.
right before the store was going to close, and he gave me a Marshall tube amp to use. And I was like, wow, it sounds so much better than the Fender Twin Reverb for my style of playing.
Right. Now,
I
was
was,
the Marshall a tube? I'm sorry, I missed that. Or was it a
yeah,
solid
no,
state?
it was a tube Marshall, like a one
Yeah.
by 12, but it was like really, really loud.
Right.
And I annoyed the shit out of the band and probably people at the wedding, but I didn't care. It sounded so good with the Stratocaster, with my
That's
79 Strat.
that's interesting because the thing I used to always hear is nothing beats a Fender through a Fender,
Yeah.
and you like the Fender through the Marshall better.
So fast forward a couple of years and
Yeah.
still gigging, and I'm like, the tubes ain't for me. I got to have something more reliable. So I heard about this new company called Line 6, and everybody's groaning right now. Let me explain. The
Yeah.
original made in California by hand Line 6 amplifiers
Right.
were, it wasn't your Spider. That came later on down the line. They were made in China or overseas or something. This is
Right.
and I still have it. It was a quality amp, had this massive pedal board with a volume and a wah-wah pedal on it. And it was just for playing weddings and stuff. It was reliable.
Right.
The tones were great. And I guess you could have up to like, I don't know how many presets, like 5 banks and like 5 or 6 tones per bank. It was plenty. I programmed the whole thing and it sounded really good.
Well, it's interesting to me because as someone, I just play in my house, and once in a, you guys were nice enough to let me play one song with you last year. It was so much fun.
Yeah, it was.
But I'm not at Martell, so I was happy I played in a real bar in front of real people.
Yeah.
But I was watching you last week, and the responsibility you have to get the right tone for each song you're playing, because in a cover band or an original band,
Mhm.
there is an expectation of a specific tone that matches the tune. Because even if you're an original band, you've recorded that tune with a specific tone.
Right.
So, grabbing it from a modeling amp or an amp that has all the bells and whistles, like, you're describing with the Line 6,
Mhm.
that's a different animal than having all the time in the world in a studio with a 1965 Fender Princeton amp, with a single 8-inch or a 10 or a 12-inch speaker, and you could just sort of play around for a long
Mhm.
time. Your responsibility, you have no time between songs. You just have to quickly hit a pedal and you're on to the next
Yeah,
song.
which at some point I went with a Line 6 Firehawk pedal
Okay.
board, which you could download tones and all that kind of stuff. And that was sort of my backup answer. If my tube amp shit the bed,
Right,
I could
right.
go directly into the PA with that pedal board.
Okay, yeah.
So back then I used to put it into a Bugera 2x12 Bugera and the 100-watt tube head called a Bugera Tri-Rec, which is based on the Mesa Boogie rectifier.
Is that is Bugera, um, does it approximate the Mesa sound?
Pretty closely, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of gearheads like, "What kind of amp is that?" I'm like so, again, with tube amps, I'm outside, it's hot at Bar A, outside in the sun, and we didn't really have a cover, and the tube amp went poof, and a big puff of smoke came out the back of it.
Right.
So, I took my backup plan was to take the Firehawk and go directly into the PA. I got in touch with the sound guy, he wired me up, and after the set, he goes, "Throw that amp away and go direct because it sounded amazing plugged in
Wow.
directly compared to mic in your amplifier." So now I'm like, do I bother breaking my back dragging this big giant half stack everywhere, or would I just go directly in? But now you're at the mercy of the sound guy and having good monitoring, right?
Yeah.
So I tried it for a little while and it wasn't for me. I like to have air behind me pushing the sound. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I think for your energy level, I would guess, that you really want that air being pushed
Yeah.
by a big fat speaker.
So I'm getting it from the front and I'm getting it from behind me, and it's a nice mix. And some monitoring at some shows, it's incredible. The Wonder Bar's incredible sound. Bar Ray's got good sound, and the Stone Pony's got unbelievable sound. In fact, they just have a guy working front of house and another guy just working the monitoring. So
Wow.
you could do in ears, you could do wedges. They're very accommodating there. Um, Now my rig is dumbed down to a 1x12 DV Mark cabinet, which is based on a Marshall. It's called a DV Mark Gold, I think.
Okay.
Um, and they have different flavors. You can get one that sounds more like a twin, more it sounds like a Marshall or whatever. So I have one
Okay.
that my version and their speaker sounds like a Marshall. I think it's their in-house speaker brand in
Okay.
there. And I have a small pedal board going directly into something called a Pedal Baby, which is
Okay.
made by Orange Amps. It's a 100-watt power source that doesn't color the tone at all. It goes directly into the amp from the pedal board. So it has literally one volume, one treble, and one bass, and that's it. And a power switch.
Wow.
Real easy, super reliable, solid state power. Um, I turned friend of the show onto it, and he's been using it. Uh, and he absolutely loves it.
So that's pretty cool. Now, all right, so let me switch gears on you. So let's go back in history. Um, do you have I think you wrote a list on some of your earliest amps.
Yeah, one of the early amps I had the Fender Twin Reverb, and my brother was just getting started with guitar, and he got a Lab Series amp,
Okay.
which was a solid state amp. Lab Series, I forget they were subsidiary of Crate, maybe.
Right.
This show is big on fact checking. We got
Yeah, I know. We get
the Halloween show talking about
I got in trouble over that, didn't I?
Richard Gere discovering Meatloaf, and they were like, no.
I completely got in trouble over that.
It's
Or
kind of
it's the
funny.
Mandela effect.
Yeah. And so Lab Series amps were just super loud, but didn't really have a whole lot of tone.
Right.
But at least they were reliable and a lot of fun. So my brother was always borrowing my Fender Twin Reverb, obviously, which is a much better amp compared to that
That
piece of crap.
and in the world of Fender, I forget I owned ever so briefly a Bandmaster head from the 60s.
Mm.
In my bedroom in Mattawan. I bought it at Bernadine Music. I had I guess it was a 50-watt head, and I don't even remember what kind of cabinet I put it through, but in my bedroom, I've got a truly iconic Fender tube head,
Hmm.
just to jam by myself, when I'm like 15, 16 years old.
Hmm.
But that was a great amp. But my first ever amp, the very first one, I took a clock radio and I disconnected I'm guessing a half watt amp
Yeah, you
inside a
made your own
clock.
like little amplifier.
Yeah, and I used the amp, and then I had an external speaker from like a car stereo, and then all I had to really do is bypass the radio, created a quarter-inch in, and then I cut off the
You're talking
speaker wires.
about nonchalantly, but that's a big pain in the ass. I don't know how you pulled that off.
Well, I learned how to solder from my dad. I don't know how I figured out this from the circuitry where the radio was, but I did. And I bypassed everything and I just took advantage of an amp. And I remember it was some old fashioned, it was like sort of like a squarish kind of thing, maybe like 6 inches wide, 10 inches
Right.
tall. It wasn't like a little radio. And whatever the power was, I was able to use that. I once got what would now be Facebook Marketplace. Then it was just the classifieds.
Mhm.
I bought a $15 amp and with a 112, no name, and it was horrible. And I shopped around,
And it was horrible.
and it was horrible. But what I did was I got myself, I think it was like an Altec single 112 speaker, swapped it out, and this is what I think was interesting. Um, any amp you get, I learned this way back when. I swapped out like a junky factory speaker for a super high quality, expensive for me as a high school kid
Mhm,
speaker,
mhm.
and it was phenomenal.
It makes all the difference in the
Yeah.
world. Yeah.
And remember my 78 Strat
Yeah.
that I had, the blonde? Well, when I went to sell my amp that I sort of did my own Frankenstrat kind of version of the amp with the extra speaker, the guy who bought it off the classifieds was the guy who a few years earlier had sold me my Strat
Oh,
randomly. Yeah, and I sold it to him, and I told him the whole story, and
small world.
yeah,
Um, I I'm always buying my instruments on budget. I'm always looking for
yeah,
a cheaper, alternative to expensive stuff. But once I did splurge, once I fell in love with the Marshall Tone,
yeah,
I said, wouldn't it be cool if because I like the Line 6 thing,
yeah,
but wouldn't it be cool if Marshall had sort of their own modeling amp? And they did eventually come out with one.
right,
And I bought it right away. Like I saw the video. I'm like, this is amazing. It's got tubes in it, 2x12. It's got like every Marshall tone possible in there. And you could just dial it up and save these presets. Anyway, so it was called a JMD1.
okay.
I ordered it from Musician's Friend and it arrived to the apartment in pieces.
Oh, really?
So I sent it back and they sent me another one and that arrived in pieces.
Wow,
And they told me, hold on to that. We're going to send you another one. So they sent me a third one
right,
and that was cracked. The
wow,
the cabinet was cracked. I said, "Give me a fat discount. I'm going to take the two pieces, the two amps, and I'm going to make one amp out of all the
right,
pieces," which was dumb. I should just try to get them to send me a new one, but I don't know. So with the idea of saving a few bucks, I'm like, it's not that terrible. I could
right.
kind of screw it back together and make sure it works, and it did, and it served me well for a lot. As a matter of fact, it's in Tom Janarone's studio as we speak, and if you watch Bully Ray's podcast, you could see my Marshall JMD1 in the background sitting there, and it's been a workhorse for a lot of years. It's my go-to rehearsal amp because I can get any tone I want out of it. And a lot of guys come over there and they use that amp when they're rehearsing at Tommy's, and they're like, "What is this thing?" It's a model amp. That's a that's a Marshall. It didn't last long.
Right.
They're discontinued, but I still love it.
That's great.
And that was the same situation where it came with a big pedal board front end on it that you can program, and I used that for many moons until it was just like, this is way too heavy. So my setup now is very light, which started.
Yeah.
I got a light, they call fly rig
Okay.
in the business
In the
that
business.
that use
Yeah.
that when you're traveling, but it's also handy when you're playing Atlantic City because you have to cart your entire rig through the casinos to the wherever it is you're going to
Oh,
play.
yeah, that's
If
right.
they don't have a back line, or if we're outside Bally's Beach Bar or something, you got to wheel it out there. So you don't want to make 100 trips to your car in Atlantic City. It's a really, really long walk, right?
It
So,
is.
so I dumbed it down, but then I love the tone of it so much, and it's so light and so small. So it's pedal baby, DB Mark cabinet, and my pedal board, which has IR cabinetry in it. So it mimics the tone going through a cab. If you don't know about IR, um, you can have it set up to make it sound like a 4x4 or a mic placement. There's a whole bunch of different things you could program into it, and it's got a built. My little pedal board's got a boost and everything. Wah pedal, volume pedal, very small.
But it's interesting. Someone could smoke a clove cigarette and like wax philosophic about all this stuff with amps, and I like the old amp, and I have a refurbished 1965. But when you're a working musician like you,
Yeah,
um, that all goes by the wayside when it's cold out and the tube falls out. you
yeah,
know, and the flip side of it is that in the real world, in a live situation, and I'm watching you play 6 days ago or whatever it was, your tones were all great. I mean, you had really, you played some searing leads. Sometimes you were playing, rhythm, and you through your everything you did was solid state
yeah.
through your current rig. And
There is a tube in the Up Yours distortion box that we got from Bootlegger. You see, you wearing the Bootlegger hat. Shout out to Chuck Wilson.
oh yeah,
Uh,
well look,
that actually has a tube inside the pedal that's actually lit up. Looks pretty cool.
it is. And by
So,
the way,
so a nice warm distortion that I
yeah,
use. I kick that on when I'm doing some of the heavier 80s metal stuff.
hmm
I got it set for 80s metal. There's a frequency knob. It's a really, really great. I did a review on it on YouTube. Maybe I'll post a link.
oh, you should.
Um,
And
it's
I
really
have
good.
his amp.
Great.
I love
Yeah.
I love the bootlegger amp. It's built beautifully. It's got a Celestion speaker in it.
It's
It's
sort of
it,
a Dumble kinda clone kinda thing? Is that how they're marketing it?
I don't know. I don't know how they're marketing it, but it's a very old school all tube amp, super high quality construction. I mean, the cabinet is just really solidly built. It's a good looking amp. And you've played it at my house.
Mhm.
Once we got it warmed up, because I don't play as often as you do, but when we got it warmed up, the tones are
I mean,
absolutely gorgeous.
when the tubes broke in, it kinda came to
Yeah,
life.
exactly. Yeah, because that's my first ever tube amp. I
Mhm.
got it as a grown up. Except for the Fender Bandmaster head when I was a little, literally a little kid. All my amps since then, I had never spent the money to get a tube amp, even though that was always my preference.
Right. I remember, this Marshall modeling JMD-1 that I told you about, the tubes kept blowing or something weird was off, it didn't sound right.
Yeah.
Sounded like tinny, it didn't have any bottom end, I was like, "Something's wrong." So I took it to a tube guy, and he's like, "The bias is all wrong." I don't know what that is.
Whatever that means. Right, right.
There's a tiny little screw in there, and it's like he hooked it up, and he goes, "Look, it's way off the charts," and he just kicked it back a little bit, this little knob with a screwdriver, and he put new tubes in it, and I was like, "Wow,
Wow.
that's the amp I heard online, not the amp I was playing through."
Yeah.
And then once those tubes broke in, wow.
How was that? Oh, okay.
Now the Bugera head has an interesting thing where it has a tube monitor on it,
Really?
which is really unique, which it was one of the reasons I got it. So it's constantly looking at the tubes to see if there's any faultiness going on. So if you look in the back of the amp, there's like 5 or 6 green lights
Right.
that sort of blink while you're playing. They go on and off. If they turn red
You got a
or
bad tube.
orange, you got something going on. You got to fix that tube.
That's that, it that's one of those things which first of all, I've never heard of.
Yeah.
And secondly, why doesn't every amp have that? That's
Yeah, I
brilliant.
thought that was really great. Now, Bugera has a reputation for being crap and they break down a lot.
Okay.
I played many, many gigs with that Bugera setup and it treated me well. Well, like I said, after you're playing for a while and you're banging it around, or it was really hot that one day that
Yeah.
something happened with the circuitry, it overheated and just the tube just went poop.
What are your feelings? Could you ever see yourself with anything other than a 12 in your amp?
I I wouldn't go any bigger than 2x12, but now it's just at the point where you're mic'd on stage and everything, there's no reason to have a gigantic amp on stage
No,
anymore.
I mean, like, would you an 8 or a 10-inch speaker?
Oh, no, I like the 12.
Yeah, because they're not pushing enough air.
Yeah, you gotta get that
Yeah.
bottom end. You don't really get it with the smaller I
Yeah.
think, at
I
least.
I agree. Yeah.
I just thought it was weird how they could have bass amps with 8-inch speakers, even though there's, like, 3 or 4 of them in there. Some of those
Yeah.
bass amps sound amazing with those small speakers,
Right.
but for guitar, I just never gravitated towards anything smaller than a 12.
No, no, it just seems kind of weird to me.
Now you've
And
seen my videos online of little covers and little things that I do, and
right.
I constantly get IMs from players who go, "What are you using to record that? Sounds really amazing." Like I could pretty much knock off any tone I want. I was doing a little tribute to Ace when he passed away, and I was playing some Kiss. And the guy's like, "You nailed that tone. It sounds exactly like Ace. What are you doing?" You're like,
Yeah, lightning's all I need. My satisfaction grows. You make me feel at ease. You even make me glow.
"What are you doing? You playing it through a Marshall? Are you micing it?" He thinks I had just a massive elaborate setup. And here's the secret. And I use this amp on your boat. This is it.
I
Look how
love that little
look how
amp.
small it is. This is the Black Star IV
Either
core.
you're ridiculously strong or that's a light amp.
It's not that heavy.
Yeah.
So and you don't be able to see this. Maybe we'll show pictures in post, but it's the ID core B3. I think it's like 20 watts. Maybe they make a 40-watt version, a 10-watt version. But the cool thing is, it's got this input that you take this special wire that has like 3 rings on it,
Okay.
and you connect that directly to your iPhone. So you're recording directly to the iPhone, and you could play along the tracks off your iPhone.
That's brilliant.
And this also has, something for earphones. So I got the earphones on, right? And I'm
Yep.
listening to the track, and I'm playing along, and I've got everything right here. It's got, it's got a bunch of voicings from Warm Clean all the way up to like Overdrive 2, which is like the metal thing. It's got modulation effects, it's got delay effects, it's got a reverb, and it's got this super wide stereo thing. When you unplug this
Yep.
and just play it like I did on your boat,
Yep.
it has this weird technology where it sounds like the sound is coming from behind you.
It's funny when you were on the boat, because we did that. We had for folks who weren't there, which is everyone. It's a little boat tour in my town, and we were going around the boat. We had this idea to let Scott play guitar. It's like a Halloween for boats, kind of.
Right.
And you were so close to the actual songs that it almost sounded like we were just driving with a radio and you were playing
Right.
air guitar.
Yeah, but if I
But you
stopped
weren't.
playing guitar, there was no guitar in the mix at all.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I found guitarless mixes, and I had a small pedal board that I brought. And again, all the effects are in this amp, so I didn't even need any effects. I just had to pretty much punch up whatever it is I was going to play,
Right.
and I was off to the races. Another cool amp along those lines, and they come much bigger than this. This is the Spark amp, Spark Mini they call it.
Okay.
And this has it comes with an app and similar thing it has where you could play the backing tracks through this. It's got
Right.
it's got a tuner in it. Yeah, that Black Star has a tuner in it as well. You got to check out the Spark line of amplifiers for practicing at home. And now they have much bigger setups. You could buy 1x12 and stuff with their technology in there.
Really?
Yeah, with a pedal board and stuff. But I mean, this little $280 whatever miracle is what I use to learn songs with for the band.
Wow.
Because you can pretty much get any song off of YouTube and play to it, and it puts up the chords automatically for you.
Really?
In the software, yeah.
So does that plug into like an iPad or your phone or something?
It by Bluetooth.
Really?
Yeah, to your phone. And it's got, here's your input jack for your regular 1/4-inch input jack for your guitar.
Right.
And then you have your earphone jack.
That's crazy.
And it connects to your phone via Bluetooth. And it's loaded with virtual pedals. Virtual amps. You could pretty much come up with anything you want.
And what's amazing, so now that comes with a 112, so you could buy that in amp version.
Yeah,
like a
They have
combo
something
amp?
that's about a little bit bigger than a lunchbox. And they have one that's about square like this, which is a large version of this if you wanted to play it out loud. But there is a tiny little speaker on this, but it, it
It's
doesn't.
not really what it's
Yeah,
about.
you plug your headphones into it, and that's
Yeah.
fine.
You know what cracks me
Good
up?
for learning.
About 9 hours ago, you texted me, "I don't know if I could do 30 minutes on
Yeah, you're
amps."
already 34 minutes in. I saw that.
I knew, but I mean, they're so more the you than I, but anyone who's in guitar, it's so central to our lives,
Mm.
you know? Uh, all right. So, in the world of tube, what do you like? So, tell me what you like.
Well, I love the Fender stuff. I
Yeah.
mean, and I love the Marshall stuff. It's just the Marshall stuff and the Fender stuff so incredibly expensive unless you get one of their
Yeah.
cheaper models the Fender makes.
Yeah, and the thing is that I always talk about, and we might have talked about it here. So much of the music that we love, from say the '60s, '70s, and '80s, was recorded with a little Fender tube practice amp, like a
Yeah.
Champ amp,
Yeah.
or a Fender Princeton, which are little amps, and they're worth an ungodly amount of money now. If you want a good condition Champ, which is short for Champion amp, 1960s Fender that's in nice shape, you're spending a ton of money, and there's something about the warmth of that
Mhm.
tone where because when you're recording, you don't have the responsibility of filling a room. You just have the responsibility of having a good tone that a microphone can grab.
Yeah.
You know, but
And
yeah.
but at your regular Joe Schmo that comes to the gig, they don't know, I know a friend of the show, Mike Mano, plays with Suit and Mai Tai. He
Yep.
has like a legit, you know, older Marshall setup.
Right.
And I'm like, aren't you afraid that thing is gonna die on you? I mean, it's like he's got and he is, so he has to bring two heads with him. In
Right.
case one of them shits the bed.
Right. Right.
Kenny Dubman plays with like vintage stuff.
I could see Kenny doing that in a good way. He is such a wonderful old school guitar player,
Mhm.
and I could see his preference just being,
He will.
like ride or
I can tell
die.
you, he'll probably tell you he'll never play a solid state amp.
Yeah, I could see Kenny being like that.
He's a
Yeah,
purist. It's got to be tubes, got to be Marshall or whatever.
and he's a
And
strong guitar player too.
I played. He was at a gig I was at. They think we're opening up for him or something. We were at Headliner, now defunct, out of business.
Yeah, as of last week.
Yeah, and I was using my JMD1 Marshall, the one I was telling you guys about.
Yeah.
And after he goes, "You should have told me you could use my Marshall, because that thing
Uh,
he thought it sounded shitty.
that's
He told me
interesting.
straight up it sounded shitty. You should use my Marshall."
Did he have like
So
a
first of all, I would never impose on anybody to use their gear.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Was
If there's a back line there, and a lot of times, when you play Atlantic City and stuff, they give you a really kind of shitty back line,
right.
and I rely on my front end pedal board stuff to kind of make the tone sound good.
Yeah. Did Kenny use like a 412, or is he a single 12 twin?
Varies. I think he's using 2x12s now, but he has used 4x12s in the past.
I mean, do people? I guess they do. I mean, I saw a Who cover band a year or two ago, but I don't even know if they were really pushing the sound through the 4x12 cabinets or if they
Mhm.
were just for show. But do you see, short of famous bands, but like, regular gigging bands, I don't really see big cabinets,
The
with,
tide is, the tide is changing. I mean, we had
yeah,
Ryan Spencer Cook talked about it. When he goes to a show, he
yep,
brings his little Kemper with him,
yeah,
and he's got all the Marshall tones in the world in that little Kemper.
yeah,
Uh, Dave Crum, we talked about last week. He's a Kemper guy. A lot of guys are going with these Kempers. Then you go directly into it's what the Pedal Baby by Orange is made for.
right,
To take
right,
that and amplify it and put it into a 1x12 or 4x12 or whatever. It's a 100-watt powerhouse,
yeah,
and that's it.
yeah,
And then Kemper's keeps evolving, and you can download different tones and different IRs, and that's almost too complicated for what I need. The Line 6 Firehawk was complicated enough, but I have to say the tones that were in there, like they had an Eddie 78, they called it.
Right.
And I was like, oh my God, it sounds exactly like the first record, Van Halen record.
Right. Right.
Exactly.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then, then we could have a whole philosophical discussion. When Eddie did it, right? Eddie did it because he never all he had was a guitar and an amp.
Hmm.
He didn't use any pedals,
He didn't use the
allegedly.
distortion. Well, you had the Phase 90 and all that stuff, but he evidently never used any distortion pedals.
Right. So, so to recreate it does. It's like part of it is amazing, and then part of it almost sounds sacrilegious.
Yeah.
You know. But
Yeah.
then when I see, what anyone's doing on guitar, you're not cheating once you're playing.
Hmm.
But it's interesting to me. Eddie creates that tone just by being Eddie,
Yeah.
and making the choices he made with his Frankenstrat or whatever he was using at the time. Never did almost nothing to his tone to get the Eddie tone.
Yeah.
And now we pay money to get a box that recreates it, but it's still cool.
And there's Fractal
Yeah.
guys playing Fractal out there. I heard some of those units. They sound amazing. The head rush
Right.
stuff sounds really good.
Right.
It's getting closer and closer and closer. And listen, when you're in a cover band situation, you want your gear to be reliable, and
Yep.
you want to get a tone that's close.
Right. And I guess
But I can understand the guys that are purists. That's like, I'm not using any of that electronic digital shit.
yeah.
I'm old school. I want my old Marshall,
Stack
the
or
900 or
twin.
the 800 or whatever.
Yeah.
You know.
And I guess, there's two different things we could talk about. Probably less than 1/1% of our audience, the famous musicians who are in a studio and that's all the amp is doing.
Hmm.
Then of the folks who listen to our show, there's the gigging people and the people who, like your brother and I, who play, but we're not gigging, and that's a different purpose. So I have the luxury of getting a tube amp because it doesn't really have to do much work for me.
Hmm.
It's not getting moved around a lot, and I have the luxury of saying this is what I want. But when you're out there working your ass off, you don't have that luxury.
Yeah. Pedal boards in themselves is a big pain in the neck, and I kind of dumb that down too. I got
Right.
this one big unit. It's made by Nux NUX, like I
Right.
always think of the Three Stooges. Nuck, nuck, nuck.
Yeah. Wow. Wow.
Like, what is that? What is it? People come over
Yeah.
on this guy, gearheads come
Yeah.
on stage and they're looking. What is that thing? It sounds really good, and it was, it was like a $200 multi pedal unit in one unit. We'll show a picture of it. It
Right.
has everything I need. It has a boost. It has IR cabinets in there that you can tweak with their software that's free. Modulation effects, reverb, delay, and distortion and overdrive. That's it.
That's all you need.
It's all there.
Yeah.
And I set the dials and I took a picture of it. I'm like, that's it. That's my tone.
Oh, that's perfect.
And I used the guitar to change the tone some more. Like, we talked about this before, like how so many guys never touch their tone control or their volume control.
Yep, we have talked about. Yeah.
It's always on 10.
Yeah. Yeah.
Try and mess with that a little bit.
Yeah. Have some fun. Learn a little bit
You know?
about your guitar. Yeah.
And every guitar has its own flavor.
It does.
This LTD Stratocaster back here is more of a treblier kind of feel than my Sambora Strat's got a PAF DiMarzio and it's a little warmer. So you have to, depending on what guitar's plugged into, you have to mess with the dials a little bit
Yeah.
to get it right. It's not one size fits all. You just can't stick whatever guitar in the input jack and expect it's going to be exactly the same. It's not going to happen.
And it's not always a fit.
No.
You know.
And then you got the single coil hum.
Yep.
Which is a million times louder if you're being mic'd on stage with a sound guy.
Right.
So you get yourself a really good, tone, not a tone killer. God, that would be bad.
Yeah. Right. You know what cracks me up? That I think it was only on
noise
this show.
gate. All right,
Noise gate. Yeah, that's all right. I was buying you time. Humbucker was bucking the hum, and I think I only learned about that on our show when I don't know if it was the Tone King or someone else was explaining that. because we grew up with the term humbucker,
Yeah.
humbucking pickup.
You throw it around, you don't even realize what it is you're saying.
Yeah,
Right?
you're bucking the hum sound. Like
Yeah.
someone came up with that but it makes sense.
And
Uh,
there's some guitars that just have grounding issues, right?
hmm Yeah,
And the hum is a million times more pronounced, and you got to deal with that. Make
but
sure
almost
that
yeah,
that the wire in back where the tremolo is, and I had a problem with it was sounded terrible. Like, oh my god, what happened? The solder came off, and the wire was just dangling, and I took the back plate off,
right,
and it wasn't connected.
and that's it.
It fell off, so I resoldered it on there. Problem solved.
Yeah, and
But you
then
can go crazy looking at your amp and what's wrong with my amp. Is there a wire that's bad? What's going on? You got pedal boards. You have those little jacked wires in there,
no, there's so much going on.
and all those things can fail. It
Yeah,
can be something as simple as the plug came out
yeah,
or it's not plugged in all the way.
a little short on your quarter-inch in. Those things come loose.
Yeah.
Those solder joints do come loose. You
Yeah.
know,
Especially when you're jumping on stage at 61 years old.
yeah, that's right. Oh my God, I looked at you and I thought,
My wife was thrilled and terrified that I actually did
you
that.
did. It was a good jump too. It was a good jump, and
I saw you were out there. It's like, I'm going to jump for Dave. If I come off the stage crippled, at least he's got a good story for the show.
I would have a good story. That's right. That was fabulous. Well, I don't know. I think that we covered way more time than we thought we would
Yeah,
on
yeah,
amps.
yeah.
Yeah, but this
And
is great.
by the way, well, I do endorse Bootlegger, but aside from that, I don't endorse Black Star or Spark amps or any of that stuff. I'm just sharing with you my passion and things that I've actually purchased with my own real money
Right.
that I use in my real life, on my videos, and at gigs, and what works for me.
I like
It
it.
may not work for everybody, but I if it helps somebody to find their way between this digital world and this analog tube world, so be it. I think the right answer for me
Yeah.
is a hybrid of both.
Yeah, I think you're right.
That's why I
It
love the JMD one. They don't make it anymore, but it had tubes, but it also had some modeling capability.
yeah.
And then the Pedal Baby by Orange, which I also not an endorser of Orange amps or anything. But when I found out about that thing, that was a huge game changer because I did have a small DV Mark amp
Right.
head. They're really, really tiny and they're compact, but I felt that the tone wasn't right. It
Right.
was coloring the tone of my pedal board too much, right? Because it had a mid range and then this and then that. So I'd say I need something simpler.
Yep.
And I think Steve Bello is
He's an orange guy. He's been an orange guy
an
for a
orange
while now.
endorser. Yeah, he's an
Yeah.
endorser of the Orange guys. So tell me
Yeah.
about this Pedal Baby, and he sent me a bunch of information about it, and I immediately went out and got one.
Well, it's funny. You're not an endorser for them, but you like them. It's funny you say that. I'm not an endorser for Ship Bottom Brewery, but boy, oh boy, do I like their IPA. It's good stuff. Ship Bottom Brewery.
I'm a Kane guy, made right here in Neptune, New Jersey.
Oh, I am too. And this is an LBI. This is a Jersey beer too.
Yeah.
Ship Bottom Brewery.
There's so many breweries out there, but that's Ship Bottom and Kane are really some of the
Kane's
best around.
wonderful. I get Kane at one of my local restaurants that you and I have been to, the Old Causeway. I always get Kane over there.
The Kane Head High is the bomb.
Yeah, it is so
And they're
good.
always coming out with new treats. Hello, Kane.
They're wonderful.
Yeah. We actually hit them up to be a sponsor on the show, but what would happen would be super drunk every time we do a show.
I've only had one beer.
So there it is. So if you
There
want
it
to hear
is.
what the Black Star sounds like plugged into an
Yeah.
iPhone, you could look at my videos online. Guitarmacist is all over the place. TikTok, as we are.
Yeah.
Guitar Tales, TikTok, Instagram, all that stuff.
Yeah. And by the way, if you don't hate our show, subscribe to it. If you hate it, subscribe to it. If you don't hate it, subscribe to it.
Yeah.
I think we're pushing maybe 12,000, 13,000 followers on YouTube, but the more the better, because then we could keep bringing the show to you, which we love to do.
I love the Halloween show. We had such a good time
We did.
doing
We
that.
did.
And I think aside from some of our big guest stars on the show, that show generated a lot of interest.
Yeah.
People love horror movies and they love metal and rock. And,
Yeah.
a couple of people reached out. I would have been on that show. I would have loved to have been a panel member on that show.
Yeah.
Keep me in mind for next year. So
Well, you know what?
next
Let's
year's
commit to
Halloween
it now.
show, we
Yeah.
I think we may have to bring Dave Crum on.
Oh, we'll do it. We will do
talked
it.
about his costume with he had a headless horseman costume where it was. You got to see some of the stuff he was playing with.
Well, I think you're gonna have a graphic in front of us in post. Poor Scott, you have so much in front of you now.
I don't know how he was able to play the guitar. He kept looking down, but I'm like, what are you looking through?
Right,
He looked like a headless person playing guitar. Very weird looking, but it was really cool. So there it is. That's a little take on amplification. If you have any comments or questions, and if you're a hater
or criticism, hate us. It's cool. Hate us. It's all good.
Some guy said I look like Ray Romano from Wish. If I ordered Ray Romano.
You know what? That's I wouldn't mind looking like Ray Romano. It's better than this, you know.
At least he's an Italian guy.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
It's all good.
It is. Well,
and that's about it, I guess.
It
is.
is.
Do we have any more special announcements?
We ain't got none. We ain't got none right now.
All right, so let's end the show with our folks and our man from Barbados.
Oh yeah,
Rex
absolutely.
Armstrong.
I follow him.
I hope he
He's
doesn't have any
wonderful.
family down in that area that's getting impacted by the hurricane because it looks really brutal.
It is rough. Yeah.
Yeah. But thoughts and prayers out to you guys. You know, you'll make it through. They seem to be taking it well.
Yeah.
I mean,
they're good attitude.
We've been joking around.
I know.
I would be like wading through water, like, hey, look, the sea comes to you here in Jamaica. You don't have to go.
I read that. Yeah.
You know, they're all laid back somehow, some way, and just dealing with it. But anyway, until next time, this is Scott Guitarist Angle and
Dave Cohen
for Guitar Tales. Listen to wherever you listen to your podcasts, and of course, if you want to see our beautiful faces, tune on YouTube.
That's right. We'll
have
see
a good night,
soon.
everybody.
Take care.
What's going on, guys? This is Rex in the Rhythm, and I am on Guitar Tales with the bad man, Dave Cohen, and Scott Guitarist Angle. Tune in. Listen to Without You. It's awesome.